Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 12. Today we're going to be looking closely at the first half of King Lear. We're going to be learning some basic cinematography because that's going to relate to your project, and you're going to have some more time for independent reading. So let me start backwards. As far as independent reading goes, people have been making their choices on the discussion board, which is good. Keep in mind that if you don't claim choices on the discussion board, that you may end up locked out of the topic that you wanted. If you go ahead and read Of Mice and Men, and I've already got 3 people who have got it claimed, you're going to have to choose a new topic. I've stated clearly that I'm only going to have a maximum of 3 people per title. So make sure you get on that and don't leave it to the last minute. So you'll have an hour or so of today's 5 hours devoted to your reading. Should be good for you. Moving backwards a step, cinematography. Why would you be learning about cinematography? Well, here's what I've got planned for your summative. There's a media studies component with this course that I need to develop a summative related to it, and Shakespeare is the perfect choice. A play is a media work. It was meant to be seen and experienced, not just read. Which is why we're not going to be doing a lot of reading. We're not going to read the entire play of King Lear. You're going to be reading parts of it, but I really don't see the need to read the entire thing because there's more and better things that we could be doing with our time. So you're going to be doing a 2-part presentation for your summative. I was working on this today, and I've got it in it's in rough form, but it's a polished rough draft. You should be able to get this assignment sheet hopefully on Wednesday and have it early. You're going to be doing a talk back is the second part, a presentation based on a film, which is the first part. So here's kind of what you'll be doing. This is what I envision. You're going to choose a sequence out of any of the scenes of the play. You don't even have to do an entire scene. You're going to choose a sequence that involves one character, a character who you have found that you can kind of maybe relate to, or there's something about this character that you think you can really get into this person's role. You're going to choose an excerpt from any scene, a sequence. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by a sequence. Instead of doing all of Act 1, Scene 1, you could do just Cordelia and her reaction when Lear asks her to speak again and to praise him. And you could have her with her lines in that sequence. Or you could have Lear flipping out on Kent. You could have any sequence you want to. You could go to Act 1, Scene 2, and you could have Edmund's soliloquy where he's talking about how why should he be where he is in life? He's got a lot going for him. Why couldn't he be more than he is? Why does he have to be so base? Why does he have to be considered bastard? And sort of this idea that he's going to be, pulling Macbeth here, jumping the life to come and getting into a higher state in life. That could be your sequence too. Doesn't matter. You're going to choose a sequence, and you're going to film it. Now, this isn't going to be your grade 9 or your grade 9 or grade 10 Shakespeare film. For those of you who didn't want to do a live performance, if that was the summative, which it often is, and you chose instead to film a video, and then you did like the stereotypical gangster Romeo and Juliet, that's not what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be looking for actual film. Cinematography is an art. People go to university to learn about it, and it has to do with the art of telling a story through cinema. So you're going to be learning some basic techniques that have to do with camera angles, and with the types of shots that you can take, and with lighting, and some other things too. And you're going to be applying some of those techniques in order to make a better film. Your film might be, I don't know, say 5 minutes long. And then your talkback presentation might be another 5 minutes long. And so the entire thing would be somewhere around 10 minutes. You know, that'd be, I think, pretty realistic for a level 3 on this project. And of course, for those of you who are shooting for level 4s, you want to exceed the expectations. Now I'm going to have a rubric for you, like I said, hopefully Wednesday, and you'll be able to see exactly how you're being marked. And also for anybody who doesn't know much about video editing, I'm not going to be holding that against you. I'm going to be looking for you to make an effort to create a film as opposed to a video. So trying to use some techniques, and you're not going to have to do anything fancy at all. I taught myself basic video editing using Windows Movie Maker about maybe 7 or 8 years ago now, and it took me, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours to be able to put together a decent little film to start with. It's not very difficult, and the types of video editing software that's out there now is amazing. I use iMovie on my iPad to do these videos, and you know the quality of these. So anyways, let me know though if you do have any concerns about the whole idea of video editing and whatnot, because I don't, on the one hand, I want you to go off with this skill. I think this is a great skill for you to have, to be able to shoot and edit video, and it's a great avenue for a media project, because the media part of it is the idea that this is more than just your average video. This is actual cinema. You're intentionally changing the lighting and intentionally choosing the camera angle because it sends a better message, it tells the story better. But at the same time, if there's anybody who knows nothing about video editing, and I want to give you the time that you're going to need in order to learn these skills, these basic skills, in order to execute well on the project. So just let me know if there's an issue. So that's what you're going to be doing for the second part of today's lesson. You're going to be watching some YouTube videos from a channel I found called Film Riot, and they do a really good job of introducing people to basic cinematography. And based on what you learn, you're going to apply it to King Lear, right? Do a little bit of sketching today. Let's get to King Lear now, right? Got about 7 minutes left before I get to my 15-minute threshold. So the first part of today's lesson, you're going to be looking closely at the first half of the play. This play, like all Shakespearean tragedies, climaxes in Act 3. For us, it's Act 3, Scene 2. For those of you who read Romeo and Juliet, it was Act 3, Scene 1 with the deaths of Mercutio and Tybalt. For those of you who read Macbeth, it's Act 3, Scene 4 with the ghost of Banquo showing up to ruin Macbeth's party. And in this case, it is Act 3, Scene 2 with Lear's losing his wits and descending into madness. Now, madness is a motif in this play. The word mad and madness, variants of it, shows up. You can see it reflected in terms of pathetic fallacy too, in storms. A storm is usually related to madness. If you wanted to reflect somebody's madness in the setting, you want to have a storm for sure. So why is Lear going crazy in Act 3, Scene 2? Well, if we follow his trajectory here, we're going to see that he started off not long ago as King of England. He was a very well-respected man, and he let that go to his head. Hubris is Lear's fatal flaw, his tragic flaw. And his hubris blinded him to who his children really were, and he exiles the good one, and he bestows his kingdom on the two bad ones. It doesn't take his two bad kids very long to get sick of him. And so what we're going to see is Goneril. She's got a servant who she favors named Oswald, and you're going to see that there's an exchange. We don't see it, but we hear about it, where Lear actually, I think, beat up on Oswald, and Goneril's getting sick of her dad, and she decides to get rid of him. So she basically just tells her servant, treat him like garbage until he gets into a snit and leaves, and that's exactly what happens. But the thing is, Goneril, she's not content with just getting rid of Lear. She conspires with her sister, and what we're going to see is in Act 2, when after Lear gets sick of the way he's being treated at Goneril's house, he goes to Regan's house, and then he gets there. She's not even there because she's gone to Gloucester's castle on purpose. I'm talking houses, I mean castles. They're royalty. They live in castles. She goes to Gloucester's castle, like on purpose, not to be there when Lear shows up. And then Lear shows up, and by that time, Goneril is there too. And together, Goneril and Regan totally turn the tables on Lear. Whereas Lear should be the father chastising the kids for doing wrong, we've got Goneril and Regan kind of like two angry moms chastising Lear, who's like the disobedient child. Everything, like is quite common in a Shakespearean tragedy, everything is turned upside down, right? And Lear can't handle that because of his hubris, because he believes he should be still regarded as king, but the problem is he's got no power. And so they cut him off. He's been living the dream. He's got his entourage of knights and stuff following along. And so there's this sort of, I don't know, there's this dark humor that happens where Goneril and Regan are like, you know, why do you need 100? Maybe you only need 50. Maybe you don't even need 50. Maybe 20. Why do you need 20? Maybe you don't even need that. Maybe you need 10 or 5. And then one says, maybe you don't even need 1. And basically, Lear flips out like he does. You're going to see that's not really a motif, but it's just his character. He flips out, but there's nothing for him to really do, because either he does what his daughters tell him to do, or he has to go live out in the wild, which is what he chooses to do. And that's where we find him in Act 3, Scene 2. Now, what you're going to be doing today is you're going to be reading excerpts from the different scenes, and then I've got little activities related to those where you're going to have to do some thinking. And the two types of thinking I'm going to get you to do, number one, being able to see the themes as they appear in the text, I think is still important, and you're going to get to practice that. But even more importantly, related to the project, is looking at character and trying to get a sense of who these characters are, and then how that would influence the way that they would behave on the stage. The thing about Shakespeare's plays is he's a very good director in that he doesn't micromanage the behavior of his actors and how they act out the role. He gives stage directions, but we don't really know how Gloucester acts. We don't really know how Lear acts. We don't really know how Regan acts. The actor has got to understand their character and then get into character and assume that role. So that's going to be the other part of what you're working at today, is looking carefully at some of these exchanges between characters, and based on what they say and based on what you know about them having already watched the play, responding to questions like, how would you deliver these lines if you were this character, or acting as this character in a production of King Lear? Because that is basically what you're going to be doing for your summative. All right? So that's what's on the stage for today. You're going to be studying Act 1, 2, and the beginnings of Act 3, and looking specifically at characters, getting into character a little bit, and looking at the themes that we're studying. Then you're going to learn some cinematography, and then finally have some time to read your novel.